Now, it wouldn't be a Q&A session without a question about the 3 million threshold. So Sebastian asked, how will the new super 3 million threshold tax impact retirement planning?
Yeah, and look, there was a whole heap of these questions which came through. In fact, I've put on the next slide here that you'll see what's the most current position on this proposal. Has there been anything further released on the 3 million tax cap? Can you update me? So there's a whole lot of questions that came through. I've bundled all of these together, and I'm just going to give you a quick update on where things sit today. I will, though, give more focus to Sebastian's question, which is, what are the things that we need to think about with our retirement planning when this proposal comes in? I'll answer the other ones by addressing this issue. So how will the $3 million threshold impact retirement planning? First of all, I believe that SMSF liquidity and SMSF diversification will become even more important. Now, the new tax they're talking about from 1 July 2025, the DIV at 296 tax, is a tax applied to the individual personally. So you're responsible individually to pay that, not the fund. But if you want your fund to pay that, which I'm thinking quite a few people will, you need to think about, does the fund have sufficient cash flow, liquidity, and diversification to meet that? We also might need to consider if a super fund is the only tool, the only retirement savings vehicle that we use, or do we use other things as well? You know, do we think about family trusts or companies? Do we think about investing in our own names? So in regards to impacting retirement planning, instead of all retirement savings going to super, do we now start to think about using other vehicles at the same time? If you think you're going to go above the 3 million, it's not really hard to estimate what that additional tax might be. We ran a webinar on this, and go and have a look at that. The formulas are all there. It's not difficult to try and project what that might look like. The second major point I want to make is that ongoing account balances will need to be reviewed more frequently. So we'll need to look at them more frequently so that if we are approaching balances exceeding 3 million, do we make a withdrawal? Can we manage that to have a lower overall tax on the amounts above the 3 million? So I think ongoing account balance maintenance is going to become more of an issue, because your balances will move up and down, and you may need to make some withdrawals to stay within limits. If we have other retirement vehicles, we might be able to have a lower overall tax. Remember that the first $18,000 that we receive as individual income is tax-free. Family trusts for investing, where we can distribute profits to who we want. All of those other retirement savings vehicles might be worth considering to sit along our SMSF alongside our super fund, which might give us a overall better outcome. The last point that I want to make here to answer the specific question that Sebastian asked about retirement planning is you now need to give greater consideration to what will happen on the death of a spouse, and whether the death benefits are going to be paid to the spouse as a reversionary pension. If that's the case, it could easily take you above the $3 million cap when you think about your own balances as well. So just something to consider. Now, in regards to the other questions that came through on this, has anything further happened? Well, the bill that covers this was introduced into the Parliament on 30th of November, so just on 2 weeks ago, and that was the first reading. The second reading, so that when they come back after recommendations have been made, has been moved. So we're not sure, I'm not sure at this point in time, when that's going to be reintroduced into Parliament. So has there been anything further to answer Thomas's question? Well, yes, the bill has come in. There was not a lot of change from the initial drafting of the rules that was tabled in Parliament. The only change, I suppose, that we looked at and we were hoping for was the removal of taxation of unrealised gains, and we were hoping that the bill might contain some form of indexation. Neither of those two things appeared in that bill. So at the moment, no real change, apart from the fact that it's had its first reading in Parliament. To answer the question from the anonymous reader, the proposed start date is still 1 July 2025, so therefore the 2026 year is the first year this will apply. So they're just some issues to think about. Nothing further that we have at this stage. The information contained on the website in those articles is certainly relevant, and I've put there the webinar that we ran on that in April of this year, the things that you need to know.